All right, it is 8 o'clock, and welcome to tonight's Power Spread-RPO coaches session. My name is John Bronkhorst. I'm the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at Bastrop High School here in Bastrop, America, in Texas. Started this group, this whole endeavor during the springtime when COVID started locking all of us out, and like all of us coaches, we try to create ways to manage through things, and so came up with the concept of developing kind of a Power RPO group and getting into holding coaching sessions and with like-minded coaches who share the same philosophy, and so been very excited about with the turnout and all the coaches who have shown an interest in being involved. So really excited about the growth of this of the Power Spread RPO group. Very excited tonight because we're going to delve into the dark side of football for us offensive coaches. Tonight we have Cody Alexander, who is currently the co-DC and safeties coach at Mesquite Horn High School here in Texas. He's in the greater DFW area. Before being at Mesquite Horn, he spent time at Midlothian High School, Lovejoy High School, and also Berkner High School in the greater DFW area. And he also was a defensive GA at Baylor under Phil Bennett. Coach Alexander is the founder of MatchQuarters.com. He has also written a number of books that can be found on Amazon. You can find him on Twitter at @the_coach_A. If you want to reach out and speak with him. Tonight, he's going to be discussing stopping the RPO. So for all of us offensive-minded coaches wanting to find out what the defensive guys are doing here lately to stop what we're doing. And also, I know we have a large number of defensive coaches tonight who I'm sure are very interested to hearing what Coach Alexander is doing. So without further ado, Coach Alexander, the floor is yours.
All right, guys. Hey, thanks for having me on. Stopping the RPO, something that I think that, we can always be tinkering at, always be looking at. The whole plan tonight is kind of go through just a little bit of a philosophy, and then I'm going to talk about kind of the different ways to attack it from different front structures. I don't think that there's any one front structure that's better than the other. It's just kind of how you play it. It's kind of how you align. The big thing for me is I've been in the 4-2-5 when I was at Baylor. Since I've been in high school, I've been really in a 3-4, kind of that 3-4 world. And then this past year at Horn was kind of my first taste in kind of that 3 high, doing some things. We had done some things in the dime world at Baylor, but nothing to the extent of kind of what we're seeing now across the board with everybody kind of living in that. So the plan today is to kind of go through kind of the overall philosophy, different ways that you can do things from each front, kind of how, I've seen it done and how I've done it at the different levels, kind of what is the thought process through each front. So hopefully that regardless of whether you're on the offensive or defensive side of the ball, whether you're a 4 down or 3 down, or you're seeing that 3 high, or you're interested in 3 high, the hope is tonight that you walk away with something you're like, okay, that makes sense. It's something that I can do, or it's something that I can take away. My dad, I'm a coach's kid. My dad coaches in Kansas City, and he always said, if you can just get one thing from a clinic, then it was completely worth it. So hopefully that's kind of the point tonight is that tonight that we can at least get one thing, 1 or 2 things for you, and that way you could take something back to your team, make you better. So that's kind of the point here. So I think there's a kind of a trend now, and I don't think it's going to go away, of being multiple. I think anymore you have to be multiple in what you do. You can't just be in one thing all the time. I talk to 4-down coaches all the time that say, hey, I'm interested in this tight front stuff. How can I get to it? And then I talk to 3-down guys that are like, hey man, we're getting killed in the tight front now. We need to go into more even spacing stuff. How can I do that and make it easy? And so I think now more than ever, it's really important that we have different ways to get into different front structures. But the biggest thing to me, and I think the biggest element that has really grown is that RPO game, is that it's not bubbles anymore. It used to be 10 years ago when I was at Baylor, starting at Baylor in 2011, it was everybody's running the bubble, and it was West Virginia, kind of that zone read with a bubble. And then it was, okay, well, we'll switch it up and we'll run what I call a switch screen to the outside receiver. Now, because of what Art Briles did at Baylor, and then what we're seeing now with the Chad Morris system, Clemson, and kind of its with the Auburn, and what even Bill Snyder was doing with kind of the pull reads now, where quarterbacks are pulling it, running horizontally, and then trying to suck up those cover 2 defenders, especially the corners that, they lick their chops because they want to get a sack, because all sacks, they think they can all get sacks. Anytime they can get that. So, that evolution has now come to now more in breaking routes. We played in a district with Rockwall Heath and Rockwall, which are 2 of the best RPO teams in DFW and probably in the state. Heath for sure was one of the best offenses I've seen at a high school level in a long time. I mean, you got an SEC receiver, you got a Pac-12 running back, and you got an SEC quarterback. And then you got another kid that's a G5 Division I recruit on the other side. And it was just, how do you stop that? How do you go through that, and all the different things? So what I'm going to do is kind of walk you through the philosophy that I've kind of developed over the last 10 years of defending our Briles system, coming to the high school level, and kind of where that translates. The overall philosophy is no gifts. My thing is, as an offense coach, you're looking at space, and you're looking at gifts, and you're looking at where is the obvious answer to a very simple question. Where can I get the ball on the perimeter to an athlete and force a one-on-one tackle? I don't want to do that. Leverage over everything. I want leverage to be important. I want things to be, when you look out at the spacing, when you got the OC in the box and you got the quarterback sitting behind the center, whether he's a sophomore or whether he's a seasoned senior, he's looking out there and he's saying, man, okay, there's not a gift. I don't have just I know exactly where I'm going. I also want, what is the least efficient play, and I'm going to force that. And at the bottom line, it's running the ball. A buddy of mine who works at PFF, I asked him, I said, hey, what's the average in college this year? What was the average EPA, which is expected points? And what that basically is every play is on a yard line. And historically, where the ball is and where the ball ends has an expected points earned or expected points gained, or what we call an EPA, or expected points average. So each play you can actually tag with a number. Now, it's hard for us high school guys, unless you have a stat whiz, or you have a guy that has like a stat program that can run it, but you can figure out more or less what it is. So I asked him, I said, what is the average EPA for a pass? And it was 0.024. That doesn't seem like a lot, but then if you go and you say, okay, what's the average run at the college level this year? It was actually negative 0.07. So almost a negative tenth of a point. So if you think that, you've run the ball 10 times, now you've lost 10 points. Now, this isn't one of those that running the ball doesn't matter. I still think at the high school level, you got to run the ball. But what I'm saying is that passing has become so much more efficient than running. So for me, what is the least efficient play? And I'm going to force that. And at the bottom line, that means that I'm going to try and put you into the box, and I'm going to try and make you run the ball. Now, obviously, players at the high school level negate that. If they got a big time running back, I don't want them running the ball. So now the reverse is now that reverses. I'm going to show a heavy box, and I'm going to force your quarterback, who can't really throw the ball, to throw the ball, especially if you're running horizontal screens. So to me, this goes both ways. It's not one of those that, hey, I'm trying to force the run every time. Trust me, when we played Tyler Legacy this year, and they got one of the best running backs in the state, I'm trying to make sure that they don't run the ball. I don't want him to run the ball. And it doesn't help that their backup running back is also a Division I player. So it's like, we don't want them to run the ball. We want to give them a heavy box, and we want them to throw the ball. That's what we want. So where are the RPOs going? I think this is another great question. Are they a horizontal team? Are they throwing outside? Are they running fade outs? Are they running kind of those, now that you see it's really a block with an out route? Are you seeing bubbles? Are you seeing fake bubbles with they're trying to throw the curl behind it, or they're trying to throw the fade behind it? I saw that at Midlothian last year a lot. I don't really see bubbles anymore, and bubbles to me are a less efficient throw. I think offensive coaches can understand this, especially, if throwing the ball outside and flat is a lot harder throw than people actually think. It's a lot easier to bring everything back in. And so that's kind of where that next step is. Are they bringing everything in? Is it slant routes? Is it hitches? Is it snags? Are they throwing the glance route, the slant route on the back, on the back side? Are they running curls? Are they trying to find space and everything's breaking in? Or are they a vertical RPO team? Yeah, I haven't seen one at the high school level. I'm sure at some point we will, but living and breathing in the Baylor system for 3 years, like I did, and kind of being engrossed in it and knowing those people, and then, seeing it at the college level, I think, the vertical passing game is, if you have a quarterback that can throw vertically, I think that's something that you're going to start seeing. So what I want to do really initially is bait the offense with light boxes. If they're a pass first team, if they don't have a running back that is just a monster, that's what we want to do. Or the reversal of that is, hey, I'm going to load the box and I'm going to make them throw the ball. That would be the reversal of that. Okay, so the philosophy part 2, you go and you look at college football, 2 teams were above 0.2 in rush EPA. That means only 2 teams in the country were averaging over 0.2 points per rush. Okay, so it would take them 5 rushes to even gain a point. If you look at the opposite, and it was Arizona State and Oregon State, okay, most of you would not say, okay, those were elite teams this year. Okay, 21 teams were above 0.2 in the passing EPA, and you had Alabama and Kent State that were above 5. So to me, if you think about it, Kent State and Alabama, every time they threw the ball, created half a point. So to me, if I'm playing a team like that, I don't want them throwing the ball. I want them running the ball, especially in their RPOs, especially if they're box reading. I want them to give the ball to a running back and let him get 3 yards in a cloud of dust and let us live to play another day. I think defense has changed so much. And even in the last 10 years, I know, especially in the last 20, where, the way that we look at defense, the way that we look at what we're trying to do philosophically is not necessarily, look, man, we're trying to only let them score 10 points. We got to keep things under 10. We want, less than 50 yards rushing, less than 100 yards. I mean, to me, if you're doing that, you're just looking for failure, because you're going to run into a team that can pass the ball, and you're going to run into a team that knows how to design plays to get people open. And so the objective for the defense is to constrain space. And that goes back to that very first philosophy of don't give up the gift. Don't give the offense the advantage of space. I call it spatial Darwinism. That now we are in that's what age of football we are in. We're in the age of spatial Darwinism. If you don't know how to use space, or you don't know how to constrain space, it's going to be really hard for you moving forward in the next 5-10 years as a coach. Because if you don't understand how to constrain space and force a offense to run into a light box, or force the offense to throw the ball on the perimeter because their quarterback can't throw the ball, but they got a really good running back. Well, if you don't understand that whole spatial awareness, you're going to be lost in the next 5-10 years, especially as 7-on-7 becomes more accessible to people. I think every level at least in my state in Texas, everybody's playing 7-on-7. It doesn't matter if you're on the flex bond. I mean, when I was at Midlothian, I think we went to the Elite 8 or the Final 4. I can't remember, a couple of years ago in the state tournament here. I mean, so, you can be a team that runs the ball predominantly, but still be able to pass. I think that's something that every offense is being able to take from what some of these high level offenses are doing, and saying, hey, we can put that in our system, and then you add play action to it, and it just becomes deadly. And then finally, with the philosophy is that you have to enter it knowing that this is a QB passing game. And I think especially in this state of Texas, go look at the Final Four teams in almost every level, probably 4A and above, and they probably have a Division I quarterback. The majority of the teams are playing with a Division I quarterback. And I think that if you want to be successful, you've got to find ways to negate the pass, and you got to force the run. Now, again, I'm going to say this all the time. If I'm playing Tyler Legacy, I don't want them running the ball. I don't want them giving it to the kids probably going to Texas or LSU or some place like that. I want it in the hands of the receivers that aren't very good. Okay. So to me, I think that's kind of the big thing in philosophy. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to transition. I'm going to go through some of these, really the top formations that I see is 2x2 with a tight end in the core or in the C, and then 3x1. Those are really the ones that are getting people and what they're using with the RPOs. Are they running some sort of a split zone back here, reading here and reading leverage? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through kind of a 4-down philosophy, a 3-4 philosophy with the tight front, and then that 3 safety look. So as I'm going through this, if you have a question, put it in the chat. Coach is going to let me know. I'll answer the question. But as we go through, I'm going to make sure that everybody gets hit. So 4 down, 3 down, and then 3 high. So the first thing in a 4 down, this is my home base. The first thing here is I want to take this guy out of the fit completely. I don't want my nickel to the field in the box fit at all. And to be honest with you, I don't care where the running back is. And I'm a little different than some people. Some people are very strict. If he's to the back, then he is out of the fit. If he's away from the back, then he's in the fit. And so what that forces you to do is it forces you now to start this person now has to be in the fit. He's got to be down. And I'm talking like he's got to slam down. He's got to be in the fit. The issue with that is now what you're doing is now you're opening up the play action here. I think we all see it. Most offenses know that if that safety's going to bite down like that real hard, then you're going to throw the post route all day. I think the way that you structure your defense too has to be important. Your boundary corner has to be your dude now, because you've got to be able to press this guy. You got to be able to get on the line of scrimmage. You got to be able to kind of do some things and play man. You got to play with some technique. If this kid's a stud over here, you got to find ways to support him, but also support the box. The whole goal is to always be +1. I want to have 3/2 here, and I'm gonna have 3/2 over here. If this guy's dead, which in a lot of cases he is, then I'm gonna have 2/1 right here. I'm gonna be able to have this guy be able to support him, whether it be him sinking down to support the box, and this guy knowing I basically need to play all of the post, and that I've got him here for the slant on the backside, or vice versa, where I'm going to cloud it. Now he's the fourth player. Now he's on top taking it. And it really depends on how good this kid is. If this kid's more of a thumper, he's more you're down here. And I think that's the other thing too. When you look at personnel, your field safety has to be your best cover safety. He's got to be basically he could be a third corner if you needed him to. I think your boundary safety needs to be a little bit more of the strong safety type. A lot of times you see the strong safety and the free safety. The free safety is always away from the strength. I think it's a little bit flipped. I do more of a field boundary approach to things. And then obviously with a nickel, if you don't have an outside linebacker that's a nickel, well, then you're going to have to be playing a lot of man to the field. And if you're playing a lot of man to the field, and man can also be quarters, because quarters turns into man, then that free safety has to be, or that field safety has to be one of your best cover guys as well. You got to at least have a guy that can cover to the field. And I think that's important. If the tight end was over here, now we're shifting over, it's an over front. And now everybody's kind of shifting over one more gap. But we're still keeping a hard edge right here. If you're an offensive guy and you look out right here, you see it. Okay, I got the cover down. I don't have anybody over here. Okay, I'm here. I got too high. I can't throw the post route. If I roll this guy up, now I don't have the hitch. I'm going to have to throw the fade now. And so to me, I think that's where you get it. Okay, that doesn't work. Okay, this doesn't work. Now where am I going to go? Now I'm going to have to run into the box. And I think to me, that's the most important thing, is that you're going to have to run into the box now. So now what I've done is I've made you predictable. Now you're going to have to run into the box, whether it doesn't matter, but all my box fits, I can play with it, because I got a 7-man box with the boundary safety sinking down as kind of what I call a cap player. So that's kind of the philosophy in the 4 down, is that I want to eliminate as much as I possibly can outside over here and force you to run into this tight space, which we already know, and I already said is less efficient than you throwing the ball downfield. Now, some things that I can do here, if I'm getting beat outside, I can move him outside. And what we can play now is bracket. And bracket just tells the nickel that I have all of 2 out and up. I've got him all out and I've got him all up, and I'm leveraging that outside. What I'm forcing that offense to do is to run a slant route. Well, the issue here is that now I've got the free safety who's inside leverage, who's apexed, and is now going to drive down on any in breaking route. And that allows that nickel now to play almost like a cloud corner. Now he's going to work that low hip, and he's going to be reading the mesh. So even if you run a slant route or you're trying to go wall the mic and you end up pulling that quarterback, I still got somebody riding that low hip, and I got an athlete on, an athlete out here. That's the other thing too with these with kind of these defending of the RPOs, that run portion of who do I want to carry the ball? Do I want the running back? Do I want the quarterback? A lot of people put the quarterback as the best athlete. Well, if I'm going to set this front right here, that means that quarterback's going to run the ball every time. Okay, well, I don't want that necessarily, right? So there's some different things that you can do here. Change the fit, post snap, muddy the read here. Now hand him off into some line movement, and now we've got guys flying to the ball. And now I've got his exit taken. He's going to see that DN stay outside, and now we can't do anything. And now again, we've put them into a funnel, and I'm funneling him all the way into the box. So that's kind of the 4-down philosophy. When we look at the tight front, most people will be familiar with this. This is pretty much what the mint alignment would be. Or if you run the tight front, bringing that jack down to be on top of that tight end. And a lot of it is going to be the same. The only thing that we've done from here is we've just moved this guy inside, and we've said, you can't run with the B gap. And that's the thing with the 4-down. And if you run a 4-down, you better understand that the offense is looking in this gap right here. They're going to control that gap, whether it be zone lock, whether it be zone insert. They're doing whatever they can to attack this B gap and try and make it as difficult as possible for you to control that gap. And that's why I'm a true believer in the heavy technique. All the heavy technique is if I get an out block, I rip across. If I get it down, I'm down. So what I'm doing is I'm still trying to eliminate that. Now, those of us that have played in the heavy technique understand that you can get guys that are going to try and pass set you, but I always tell that DN he can have a 2-way go. In the mic now, he works inside out on that if they're gonna do that. But if they're doing that, that means that quarterback's not running the ball. So to me, that's the most important thing. I get coaches all the time telling me, "Well, I'll just zone lock," and I'm like, "That's fine. That means the quarterback doesn't run the ball." Because you're not going to run zone read. You're not going to run zone read with a lock tackle. You're going to have to do something else inside for that quarterback to run the ball. So to me, that's not an issue. And in fact, what I've done is I've eliminated a player that you can actually run. So next one's going to be the tight front. So like I said, now we've plugged the B, we plugged the cutback. The whole point of the tight front really is to force this ball to go this way. That's what we want. And we want to give the illusion of a soft edge so that Mike, when he slams the C shut, that he's right there. Again, here, the tight front's a little bit different because of the way that it plays, is that Mike now is the C gap defender. So you've got to make sure that you understand that these guys make sure that they get over here. If they're going to, most times what they're going to do is read this guy, right? Everybody's going to read this guy. Okay, and it's no different than the over front where they would down block it and they'd read that D end. But now they can arc and they can monitor and really kind of pin that guy inside. So you've got to be understanding what are the different plays that you're going to get right here. But the philosophy really is the same in terms of this. Roll him up, make sure that I have that 2/1 here, make sure that I've got the 3/2 here. And again, most of the time, that guy's not an issue. And if you stack a guy on top of him, they're not going to run the pop pass. because there are very few runs where this guy goes vertical. And I tell my safeties that all the time. If the tight end's going vertical, it's not a run play. There's almost no plays where that guy is going vertical straight down the field. And it's kind of the whole deal. I tell him, eyes to me, he's blocking me, eyes away. This guy's trying to get to a landmark and then look back for the quarterback to throw him the pop pass. And if I stack on top of you, then I'm fine. But in terms of RPOs here, what I'm looking for now is more or less, again, I'm trying to get you into a situation where you got to run the ball. And the tight front was basically invented to stop zone runs. And I think that's the most important thing that people need to understand, is that this was invented to stop the inside zone. That's what this does. It basically plugs up all the gaps. Okay. Everybody's here, and it makes everything. If he peeks in here, I got the will here. And so he's going to have to bounce out here, which allows this guy to rally as well. So I think a lot of people need to understand when I'm looking at the tight front, I'm trying to stop inside zone. I'm trying to stop the zone reads. And again, it goes back to this. Now, the one thing, and you won't hear a lot of guys say this, the bracket, you have an issue in bracket. If you're going to play some bracket and you're really going to you're going to move him outside and you're going to force that, you kind of are a little bit light. A lot of guys ball fit in the tight front. So if you get action this way, he's going to be working, and that puts that free safety on that quarterback. And that's not something that a lot of guys want to do. So so again, when you're looking at it and you're like, well, hey, maybe let's play something. I really like bracket. Let's play some bracket too. Let's play some bracket with the tight front. Just understand that the way that you structure it, it better be good, because otherwise you either need to attach the mic. You're going to need to attach the mic to the quarterback and just kind of basically fit everything up gap wise, and just kind of say, hey, you've got the quarterback here to completely take that guy out. But now, if something were to happen and he gets lost in the shuffle or he gets here, now you don't have that extra guy coming across. So now you're a hat for a hat. So you got to make sure that you're careful with that. That's why a lot of guys don't like running bracket versus tight. A couple other things, just from out of a 2x2, again, 2x2 to me is a little bit more simple, is because I want to draw a hard line in the sand, and I want them to look at it and say, you know what, I'm going to have to run the ball. And that tight front really makes it difficult for offenses when they're looking at it, especially zone heavy offenses. When they're looking at this, you will see some guys that will try and do this. But I think a lot of tight front teams rep that so much nowadays. The other thing that you can do is attach that jack to that. And a lot of guys aren't going to do that with a tight end anyway. That's mostly a 10 personnel thing. But it's something to think about when you're doing that, and really making sure those ends know, look, if I got an out block from that guy, I got to try and close everything down. Because the whole point of this is to squeeze everything out of this box, and so that these guys stay free and that it goes to your overhangs if the ball does end up getting ran. All right, finally, on this 2x2 set, talking about the 3-high system. So what I like about the 3-high system now is that I have what is called a joker back. Okay, he's a safety, and what he does is he's fitting off 3. Okay, so if we start going here, I'm starting moving here. I'm tracking him. So even if I get split zone, right, and I get the cutback, well, I'm capping that right now. So I'm going wherever that number 3 is, and usually that number 3 in a 2x2, obviously it's going to be the running back. Again, the philosophy here is the same. Because you have that 6-man box, you do have a little bit of the ability, and because you have a 5 technique here, depending on how you're going to play it, you do have the ability to play a little bit of bracket. Just understand, though, that are you going to play knockback 5, or are you going to actually play a heavy 5? Play heavy 5, again, you're playing the tight front. That mic's got to be attached to that quarterback, and then that free safety's got to come a long way to go if you're doing that. But to me here, when I look at this, this is a light box, right? It's 5-on-5. Hey, this is man blocking. We got this. This is easy, right? All we got to do is here. Okay, I know he's going to lag. Now I'm here. The guards are in post. But you go and you watch a team like Cincinnati. And Cincinnati, what they do is they actually mug these guys up real tight. Okay. And what they'll do is they'll send one and they'll drop another. But then what they're doing is they're using these guys because they were in cover one and they're funneling the back with these guys. So as that guard's climbing to come up here, that guy thinks, okay, I see some daylight. And then there you go. That guy's funneled in because that guard climbs. So to me in this, it's the illusion that these guards are free, but they're really not. And, a lot of times they're trying to earhole that guy before they come up. So again, are you playing with heavy to make everything kind of spill out? And a lot of guys are. A lot of people don't run, and I think it's a misnomer, is that at a 3 high, especially like if you're watching the Iowa State system, which was what I have here, is a lot of guys think, okay, oh, well, it's just, the tight front out of a 3 high, and it's not. Anytime you get a tight end in the game, most of the time they're going to get in the 5. And the reason is because if you're going to run split zone or you're going to run, GY or anything like that, that 5 technique is much better at spilling that than if you're in the tight front and now he's washed. Now I've got to get down and I've got to spill it. Hopefully that guy overlaps. That's just not a good look. We want to meet that spill there. And so again, too, with this especially is that, the guy that they're going to try and manipulate again is going to be here, right? And then because this guy's here, they can't manipulate my backside safety, right? Because that's the problem in 2 high, is that if I get any kind of run action or anything like that, I need to sink down into the box to create that 7-man box. Well, now, because I got him sitting in the box, now I can keep him high and I can keep him looking here. Well, if he goes vertical, I'm on top of him, just like a 2 high. If I get a slant route, well, guess who's right there waiting on it? Now I've got 2-on-1 right here, because now I've got the box. My box fit is going to be just fine. And it's really hard. And a lot of guys just can say, oh, well, we've seen it enough and we're going to start counting the jack in the box. That's great. But I'm telling you, and I think we all know, if you really don't lie to yourself, those offensive linemen, once they engage on them front 5, they ain't thinking about the jack coming down. And they're not searching, because if they're searching for that guy, they're missing a block up front and one of these guys is coming loose. And so again, what I've done is I've created a barrier here. I've created a barrier here. And what I've done now is I've created numbers inside, okay, with eyes on the quarterback, playing zone. Now, the answer in all of this stuff is, well, let's just play man. Well, you got to have the dudes to play man. Luckily at Horn, we were okay. We had some dudes. I was lucky enough. I had 2 Division I corners this year. So when we looked at it towards the end of the year, we just said, man, as we were going through the roller coaster of the COVID season, we were like, look, let's just play man. And so that's what we ended up doing. And of course, man is really easy to take away RPOs. But like I think Sarkeesian talked about in his clinic from last year, it was just like, look, everybody's playing man to stop RPOs now. So you're going to have to find answers now to play it. And I think defensively, it's reversal. Everybody's expecting you to play man. So if everybody's expecting me to play man, how are ways that I can give the illusion of man but not be playing it? How can we switch up the way that we look? And so we don't want, and all of this, if you noticed, in almost every single one of these, it's a static alignment. Everything is going to look the same pre-snap. So if they're, for instance, they're a big RPO team over here, and I'm not worried about it over here. They're really hitting us with slants, and they know we're playing some bracket and we're doing this, but I want to give them a different look, because I don't want to get beat vertically here. Maybe my nickel's not that great. Is being able to bring ways of maybe slinging him down and playing some 3 buzz, or on the inverses of kind of cheating him here and then slinging him down. Maybe you get him down on top of the box because you're seeing a split zone team come across all the time. So instead of him lining up here, now I line him up right here. And then the next thing you know, he's over here as a seam player. Now I get that slant, I'm trail, and now I can really play. We can play almost like he can play the deepest of the deepest over here. And now that nickel basically play his same bracket technique, but now I've got him coming over here. Or I'm going to force the issue and I'm going to blitz this guy. But now because I've made it look like it's going to be cover one, now I sling him over here. And now all we're doing is playing cover two. Okay. And that's just called steal coverage. That's just two steal right there. That's the language for that. And in that you can sink in steal, you can sink him in here. You can sink him here. You can sink him wherever you want on that front side, especially if this guy's dead. If this guy's not that dude, and now, hey, how are we going to stop this slot? Because that's the thing. That's the transition that I've seen in offenses is that it used to be this was your dude. Now, don't get me wrong. There's still teams that are going to line up their dude because they know they can get single coverage. Well, how can I create box fits here to where now I can double him, right? Maybe it's I insert the nickel and we play man to the field, but we're going to zone over the X. Okay. Cause I'm not going to let you get that. I'm going to cone that over here where basically I'm pressing from outside in. I'm sinking down. I've got all the slant and then I'm on top. If it's fade, I'm basically forcing you to throw least efficient throws. And so again, I think that's the thing in all of this stuff before I move on to 3x1 is, how can I create static looks pre-snap? Because that's what everybody's doing now. Everybody's saying, okay, I'm taking this guy. We're going to get you lined up. We're going to look back. If you show pressure at all, now we're going to get, okay, I know the nickel's coming. We're going to run this right behind him. Okay, well, how about I go ahead and show you, okay, let's go ahead and creep down, make it look like it's cover one, and then I slam over here. And now I'm running two steal and you run that slant route right into my boundary safety coming across. Okay. Or you run that slant route right on my free safety that's coming down and we're spinning that way. So I think that there's some things that you can do post snap wise to eliminate some of the RPOs, because that's going to be the answer, right? It's like, okay, coach, that's great. You basically line up in quarters and you're forcing the run. Okay. So, but now what are you going to do now when I've got the pass? And they're just going to pass no matter what. Because we saw that when we played Rockwall Heath, they did not care. They were passing the ball. They weren't handing the ball off. And I know, and like I said, Heath has a Division I running back. They don't care. They want to pass the ball. That's what they do. And so for me, how can we create situations where post snap we're changing the picture for things? Or are you running man to make everything tight? Okay. 3x1, the biggest thing here, when we see an overload here is now this guy's now going to be the target. Like I said, everything here. So now we're getting into the 3x1 world. Okay. 4 down. Like I said, I don't want to me, there's no difference between this here or here. Okay. The only thing that's going to change is this alignment. And the reason why this changes, I want that mic to be closer to 3. I don't want him to be in the A gap. Okay. And what I don't want is to have the tackle here, push everybody over, and now I got to slam him in here. And then or I've got to do some sort of game to open it up to where now I've got it to where he's now the overhang. I don't want to do anything to where I have to bring him and slam him into the box, because I think we all know what they'll do is they'll put him over here and they're just going to read that safety. That safety slams down, throw the post route, throw the glance all day long on you. So again, what I want to do and the way that I approach it is from here, what are the things that we're going to get? We're going to get arc reads. We're going to get split zone. We're going to get, that GY. Those are the looks that we're going to get here. Well, I want them running into the teeth of the defense. Okay, that's what I want them doing, and then they're gonna know. Okay, well, I don't have that gift over here. And then they're going to look over here and they're saying, okay, well, I don't have that gift over here either. So I think to me, when you line up like this, that's got to be the key thing too. Especially again, identify, is this guy a viable threat in the passing game? Because that's part of that new RPO, right? Is it here? They're going to run bubble. They're going to run some sort of stop, and then they're going to send that guy up the pipe, right? But a lot of guys ain't going to throw that ball to that dude if he's a glorified tackle. And so I think that you got to make sure like this guy, he's got to be able to see the departure of the tight end. Remember, if the tight end's going vertical, it's a pass. There's not very many blocks where he's going vertical and he's going to block somebody, because there's nobody in the middle of the field out of a too high system right here. So he's going to either arc with eyes inside, or he's going to down because they're running duo, or that he's going to be trying to insert because they're running ISO, or he's coming across as the wrapper, either in split zone or for GY. So again, there's none of these are a straight vertical. So again, I think that's kind of important for that safety to understand, is that I basically don't go till, read that. If he's not there, snap my eyes back over to here. Otherwise, most of the time he's coming across, right? Now I will say this, more and more we've seen teams run duo and things like that. And I like the even front versus duo. It really clogs it up for everybody. That tackle's got to force the gap here. As he's hitting here, he's got to be here. That nickel's kind of have to fit. If he bounces it out at all, he's got to be able. That's why I like gap exchange. But I'm kind of getting off the topic. So again, anytime I got the over front, bracket is in play, I'm able to now take it. It basically eliminates any kind of out route that they can have. If it's an in-breaking route, now I've got the free safety down on top of it with him in trail, and it kind of opens things up again. So again, here too, what are some things that I can do to counter that? I can 3-buzz it if this guy's not a dude. If they're really trying to target this guy's the star, and they're trying to do slant routes, I can 3-buzz it. I can bracket it. I can do some things like that to really kind of force the issue right there. If we're looking at, again, in the tight front, I'm just going to tell you right now, if you don't have rules in your tight front, I think most people are familiar with Aranda. If you don't have rules in your tight front with a tight end to get into a 5 technique, you're just going to get washed. Because if this guy's sitting here, okay, he's going to have to widen, and he is now from depth responsible for the C gap, and it's going to be really hard for him to defend that. And if they got a good tight end, it's easy for this to happen. And now there is a little bit of a crease right there, and that is why teams get killed in duo that sit in tight front, or that Mike sees it, he fits inside because he's kind of aiming for the midpoint of the guard, and then he pops out. And remember, these guys aren't in the fit. Who's got that guy? There ain't nobody. So go ahead and run your hit screen over here. That's the other one that we see. We see this a lot. Well, if I'm running duo, I'm running hitches all day long, because I want that guy to stay at home. I want to wash everybody down right here. And let him just roll off the table. And now everybody pursued in here, and now I don't have anybody out here, and I got a guy that's about 15 yards deep that's going to have to try and chase that guy down. So to me, if you're going to run the tight front, you better have some techniques. I had this check heavy in our tight front. We call it check heavy. Heavy just means that he's going to now move over here, and he's going to read that tackle. Tackle blocks out, I'll rip inside. Tackle blocks down, I'm slamming the B shut, knowing that now allows him, at least that tight end is going to have to engage and try and wash him down. If he does, then he eliminates the C gap by himself. But a lot of these things, what are some things that I could do backside that are a little bit different? If the back's away, maybe what you can do is poach this, and now I can swipe number 1, make him a flex player. Don't engage him in it. Now, what we see a lot now is we're seeing some dart now a little bit more. If that's the case, now we can cone this, and we get that extra fitter because he's now going to follow. So everybody, I'm boxing here, and now I've got the cutback. So I've got outside shoulder, inside shoulder. And now if that thing were to cut back, I got the jack. But now what that allows me to do is, if I get that tackle pull, he folds in, everybody's pulling the chain. But what that allows me to do is, if you're going to play action, let's say the running back's over here and you're going to play action, what I can do now is I can roll him up, and we can play cone now on the backside. So there's some different things that you could do to negate some of this stuff, to give them the illusion that, okay, we're going to have some space over here. Maybe if a few times you've been doing this and you've been seeing that safety creep up. Now I come back and I say, hey, look, we're going to engage him now. He's going to become a flex player for us. So we get dart again. He folds in, everybody moves down. Quarterback's thinking, oh yeah, I got him. He's slamming down. Instead, he stays high. Now you just throw the ball to the boundary safety as your receiver's running that deep glance route. But again, notice what I've done in almost all of these is I am not giving you the gift of space to the field. I'm not going to do it. You're going to have to attack the boundary, or you're going to have to attack the box. So again, constricted space. I'm going to make you attack this area, or I'm going to make you attack this area. But whatever you do, I'm not going to give up the field. And whatever coverage we play out here is going to be predicated on the type of RPOs that you run. Are you running bubbles? Are you running slants? Okay. Very rarely, like I said, are we getting verticals. And usually with a cap safety like that, you're just not going to get the vertical. So again, what we're trying to do is I'm trying to take a third of the field, or even a half of the field, because most of the games play on hash. So I'm taking almost 2/3 of the field away from you, just by putting and playing the way that we play the nickel over here with him. Now, obviously, with the back over here, that nickel can be a little bit more passive. There's not a lot of teams that'll flop RPO you. What flop just means if the back's over here, but they're actually reading this guy. You normally see it in 10 personnel. If like you get a 2x2 over here, so the wheel's got to move out, Mike's got to be in a 0. Now you got to sling the fit in here. If you are slinging the fit all the way in here from the field, you're going to get beat every time, because there's going to be a smart offensive coordinator that's going to just run slant routes all day long and attack you there. So what I try and do in everything that I do, it doesn't matter whether it's 10 personnel 2x2 or whether it's just 11 personnel 2. I do not want you to have the field at all. Okay. And then finally, with the 3 high look, obviously he's the 3 fit. So he's reading this. If he goes vertical at all, he's got. Okay. So you basically have a built-in poach technique there. If he goes across, now I'm sinking down, right? If he arcs, I'm arcing, right? I'm fitting off this guy. If he arcs for that Mike, now I'm arcing with him. I'm meeting him. Okay. And so what you're doing is you're stealing that out here. And so even if let's say they have an arc and they're running some sort of a slant behind it, which you wouldn't do that because it's 2 guys in the area, but you're bringing that guy to him, right? If you run the hitch off of it, okay, let's say that they're running duo now. Okay, you're running duo. Well, I hate to tell you, but now here comes that guy. So now I've got him slamming the door shut. I got him right here. I've got an inside outside guy on him right now. So again, with this 3 high stuff, a lot of it is just, again, I'm taking away the field. I'm taking away this guy, and I'm making you run into this box that's going to be loaded. And again, with this, being able to manipulate the coverage out here, so that way, whatever you're going to run, we're going to combat it. Okay. 10 personnel 2x2. Like I said, the biggest thing, and I'll go quickly through this so we can get to the 10 personnel 3x1, because that's really the one that's important. But again, 10 personnel 2x2, it's going to be that B gap. What I want to do, and my base play of playing this is a field call. I don't care where this back is. I really don't. That 3 technique is going to sit to the field, and that nickel is going to be out of the fit as much as I possibly can. That's why we play heavy technique through here. And so that wheel doesn't have to come in here, and then you're just throwing hitch routes all day to the field.
Hey, Coach,
yes, sir.
Question. We have a coach who wants to know, how do you treat it if you have 2 receivers to the boundary?
2 receivers to the boundary, it would be okay. So if I had 2 receivers to the boundary, it would look almost the exact same, except for that wheel is going to hug it a little bit more. It would be the wheel. So you flip it. So this would actually be your wheel in an apex, and the nickel would actually come into the box. And so a lot of people are like, well, I don't want my nickel playing in the box. Okay, well, if you don't want to play a field boundary, then you got to take your nickel to the passing strength. If the nickel's going to go to the passing strength, you're going to get this all day long. So you better be able to have some sort of system where your nickel can follow that guy. If not, what I tell guys all the time is that offensive coordinators aren't going to live in FIB. They're not. They're just not. Nobody wants to live. If I told you could live in a 3,000 square foot house, or you could live in a 500 square foot economy apartment in what would you choose? You would choose the land every time. You would choose the space every single time. So again, if they're going to play their entire game plan into the boundary, then let them do it. And then if that's the case, then we can do some things call wise where we can flip it and we can say, hey, now we're going pass strength instead of field strength. But everything is going to stay the same in regards to that. The will can play a little bit tighter to the box just because it is a boundary. He doesn't have that far to go. But he's going to play it similar to that nickel of like, don't go till you know, because I've had that where teams have gone two into the boundary and they try to run the hitch routes. And then, you tell that will, hey, remember if the back's to me, I'm technically out of the fit. So I don't have to be fast. We've got the nickel on the other side. We can do some other things to help you out. So yeah, that would be the answer to that. But again, 4 down, attack the B gap, find ways to close that B gap. This, to me, I think with this, you've essentially taken everything out of the game plan for a lot of offenses. If you're going to run the tight front and you're a 3 down and you're going to run the tight front, they're going to have to run some gap schemes. This is where you normally see the double fold. This is that you got to teach those DNs to splatter those guards as well right there, or to heavy those guards. I want to cross face. That way it keeps your jack and your nickel outside. To me, that's the same thing. If the back is over here, okay, now I'm still in the C gap, okay. But to me, what you can do is now everybody can kind of widen out, and now he knows I'm more of an outside shoulder player. Now I'm here, and if it does somehow go back outside, I've got the nickel on the other side. But again, what I've said is we're really trying not to keep him involved in everything and keep everything up here as is. And then finally with the 3 high stuff, this looks exactly like Iowa State that you would do. Again, cover down. I've got all the gaps filled here. What you're doing now is it either is going to have to roll off the door to the nickel. Maybe we're playing some cover 2 to get him to where he can be aggressive. That's what Iowa State does. A lot of those guys play that kind of that Tampa style, or it's going to have to go all the way to the front door, which allows that Mike to rally and the Jack to rally. Because that's the other thing in this system is that people don't understand is that as he's rolling off, well, I'm fitting off a 3 anyway, so we should have a guy inside out guy and an outside in guy right there, and I think. I guess it didn't fit in there, but so 10 personnel 3x1. Let me draw it up. So I apologize that I didn't get that in there. I thought I did. If I get 10 personnel 3x1, okay. This is, to me, is kind of the biggest one that you're getting. Everybody's kind of here, right? You've got to find ways to cover down on that guy. If they're a bubble team, then we're playing a lot of stuff outside of number 2. And if they're a stick team, then I'm finding ways to get that Mike out here. And again, it goes along with playing that under front or playing a tight front and putting the Mike in the C gap. Because if I'm in a 4 down, he's going to eliminate that. If I'm in a tight front, he's already there eliminating that. And it allows him to be in that C gap. I've had guys tell me all the time, well, that's great, but we're still going to run the stick route. And I'll be honest with you. There's not a lot of teams and there's not a lot of offensive coordinators that I've gone up against where they're going to throw the stick route with the Mike right there, knowing that he really isn't responsible for the B gap. He's going to end up in the C gap. He doesn't have to move anywhere. They try it early and they end up handing the ball off. So again, like I said, Mike doesn't move. What are they going to do? They're going to hand the ball off. Mike caves inside. What are they going to do? They're going to throw it out to here. And I've seen it. I've seen guys where they tell that Mike, hey, you've got the B gap. That end's going to rush up field. He folds inside. And then now what you got is you got a free safety at about 12, 15. Once that ball's thrown, having to come down and make a play. That's a 10-yard tackle. You know, he's got 10 yards that he's got to close that space down to make that tackle. And so to me, you know, again, it's constraining the space. I'm eliminating space as much as possible. So if I'm getting a bunch of bubble routes, I'm aligning that nickel outside. If I'm getting a lot of in-breaking routes, we're aligning them inside and we're playing what I call stress. Okay. Because I'm not going to let you just go. I'm not going to let you just run slant routes. I'm not going to let you attack space. We're going to constrain it and we're going to make sure that we're blocking it. Now on the backside, what I tell that boundary safety, if the back is away, you know, make sure I can be a little bit more aggressive downfield, but I got to make sure I sit in what I call the glance window or the post hole. That corner has to know. And I tell the corners all the time, if I get a single receiver, I'm man to man. It doesn't matter. If I get a single receiver, I'm man to man. And I gotta make sure that I'm on top of that. And I'm playing deep and inside, knowing that I'm going to have a little bit of help from that safety. So again, what we can do here is play some press bail. We can play some cone. If we think we can handle it up front with the tight front, or if we can handle it with our 4 down guys right there, then we can play some different things over here to kind of negate that slant route that you just see everybody running. So to me, I think with the 3-by-1, it's all about this matchup and then this matchup, because if you're always doing this, you're going to always get this. So the 2 biggest things that I see mistakes wise with trips is not leveraging correctly the trips. So again, if they're a bubble team, I want to be outside. If they're an in-breaking team, I want to be inside. And then what am I doing with 3? I got to put a guy in proximity. But again, slamming the free safety down and running 3 buzz. What did I tell you? If he's going to be going this way, you're going to be getting this all day long. So I've got to be able to have ways to play too high and be able to eliminate that. And that's what that over front does, or even that mint front. What it does is it puts a big giant wall right here and allows him to play in what I call the O gap. And so by doing that, now I've taken him out of the box fit, and now he can play a little bit slower. He can play from what I call the table and be able to eliminate that.
Coach, we got a question. In your 3-by-1 look with the back strong, do you ever take the nickel and put them on top of number 3 to play trap coverage on number 1 and 2?
Now so if you're playing, so like, man, I get what you're saying. I have never done that. I think that could easily be an adjustment. That if you have the only issue I have with that is you're going to have to take somebody from the mic and put them out here. And to me, my thing that I've just learned over the brief coaching that I've been able to do is that the more moving pieces that you move, the harder it is for kids. You know, our Mike linebacker knows if I'm here, I know that job every single time. I don't have to overthink it. If I move him out here, now he's in space. Now I will say this: there are teams that are starting to put a bigger guy out here to eliminate, especially if you're going to play with a tight end and you're going to start running some screens out here. They're saying, look, we're going to put a bigger guy. So if it is one of those deals where this is a tight end, then maybe it wouldn't be bad to have some sort of deal where you switch the nickel in that. And again, it goes back to what we talked about at the beginning, is inviting the run. So if your nickel's not a bad tackler, or he's kind of like a really strong safety, he's kind of a rover type and he can kind of fit on the outside of the box, well then, yeah, maybe that's not a bad idea. The one that I see the most is when you get 3-by-1 and you want to run some special or stump, is that they take the nickel and put him on number 1 and move the corner inside. That's the one that I see more often than not, because most of the time that guy's not getting the ball anyway. The nickel might not be the best cover guy, but if you noticed in most of everything that I've done, what I've tried to do is really, this guy has to be kind of a cover guy. Now, when I was at Midlothian, that guy was not a cover guy. And so what we ended up doing is, what is everybody's answer? If you don't have a cover guy, you play man. Now, luckily, the past 2 places I've been at, I've had excellent defensive backs. I had a free safety at Midlothian that's probably going to play Major League Baseball. I've got a sophomore safety that played my free safety this year that's probably a Division I football player. So to me, I've been blessed to be able to say, okay, I can play man. My goal, hopefully tonight, is to give you some answers that, hey, I can't play man. So what are some different things that I can do? Because I've been there as well. When I was at Lovejoy, we weren't playing man versus a lot of people because they had better athletes than us. But I had really smart kids. I had kids that understand football. They had high IQ, and we could do different things within our zone structure. Same thing at Midlothian. If they had a guy, maybe we didn't want to play man, especially versus a 2 receiver. Now we can start manipulating different ways that we can play zone. We started seeing Alito and Cleburne. Alito would run fade bubble. Cleburne would run fade curl, and they would RPO it. So you're running cover 2. That guy's trapping, right? And they saw us early in the year. We're trapping hard. Like we were playing Seguin, we were playing some other teams. We're just sawing people in half on those bubble routes. So we get late in the season, we're playing Alito and we're playing Cleburne. Now we're not playing camp rules, right? We're playing squat. I ain't taking anything under 5 yards. So I get that bubble, and here's Cleburne trying to curl that guy up behind me at 5 yards. Well, I got my corner sitting right there. It took one drive before we switched over to our squat technique. They got a couple passes, and as soon as we got over, I talked to the kids, and we were like, yeah, let's move to squat technique. Let's not attack those bubbles. They're not doing it anymore. And like I said, with Alito, they were just trying to run fade routes. This is JoJo Earl. He's running bubbles. Well, where's everybody's eyes going? Right there. That's the dude, right? Well, then they're trying to throw it to the guy right behind it. So what we ended up doing is, we switch it, and we've had a couple other teams that have tried to run some bubbles with some fades off of these RPOs. That's that vertical RPO piece that I talked about. Well, now that corner sits in the hip pocket of that receiver, and he's reading quarterback's eyes. If the quarterback goes horizontal, then he's going to come down knowing that the nickel's chasing right behind him. Well, if that quarterback's eyes are down the field, then I'm down the field. I mean, I think we had in 2019, we had 2 or 3 interceptions on fade bubbles. And it was the fade route, and it was the corner trailing the fade route, and the quarterback never saw it, never expected it. So to me, with that vertical stretch off of a 2 receiver route, that's something else that you can do right there. Do we got some time for a little bit of film?
We've got about 10 minutes left, Coach.
Okay, I'm gonna go through this quick, because a lot of this stuff, like I said, our answer to a lot of this stuff was man coverage. And so for us, what we were seeing here is that there's your zone insert with the man. And here's kind of an FIB, we're pressing up here. Okay. And we're using our, what I call a scooch technique. He's probably a little bit too fast off of the scooch technique. I want to, especially in the red zone, I want to beat him up. Now we want to be on different levels, but I want him to be a little bit more patient right here, to where I'm now on top of it. But to me, that quarterback had to throw it outside. Again, it's not an easy throw. He had to throw it outside. The kid catches it and falls down. Now to me, that's a 3-yard gain. Let's see another, anything 3 or below, that's usually a win on first down for us. Let me see. I think I got more film. Oh, there's my trips. All my stuff got messed up. I apologize, guys. I even checked it before we got on here. Here's another look at the same deal. You're getting the stack position, and you're getting, what are they trying to do? They're trying to attack this guy right here. Okay, and again, that scooch technique, need to make sure that he's kind of a little bit closer. And then what we're doing is this kid right here, again, like I said, I had 2 Division I corners. So it was like, if they want to throw man to man, then that's fine. We're going to allow that we'll be able to play that. And we knew, okay, they're running either a comeback here on the stick, or they're running in breaking route. And so he's basically just sitting there at the top of the route, and I teach my kids where the routes break off. So if you look at this route breaks off almost right at 7. Okay, he takes that little jab step, and I tell the kids all the time, simple energy system, right? If I plant here, I can't keep going here. So you can see him; he's planting. As soon as I plant. So if he plants that outside foot, I'm planting with my outside foot, and I'm working back inside, breaking down right on there, in that. And so what we were doing here is we felt like, and this is a little bit later in the game, but we felt like, okay, now we feel like we can play a little bit more man. Give them a heavier box, try and get that kid to throw maybe throws a pick or two. Here's another example. Let me see if I can't get to the wide copy. Here we go. So here's a good example of our trips coverage right here. Again, we're playing man against this, and what we're doing is block destruction, setting the point. I think it's important, if you're going to play a lot of man, to make sure that, hey, I'm block destructing this. I get him coming out. I see him. And so even in man, and I think this is where we're a little different than most people, is that if we get, even though we're a man, we're still reading it like zone. Now he is dead. This is unbalanced, but it would fit the exact same if this kid was lining up out here. Is that he'd be outside leverage. He's reading this guy. If he feels that guy coming, he's snapping his eyes here. If his eyes are to me, then I'm gone. Right, because I know. Now we're pressing the point. If his eyes are not on me, then I'm going to keep feathering out, and I'm going to let him undercut it. We can even do it in a game where we can play it like zone. So I think you got to give your kids answers. If you're getting a lot of stuff, like let's say they're trying to do this and then get the shoot route, well, and you can't, and your kids are, I'm a little bit worried. They run both of these route combinations and they do a good job with it. Well, you can play man like zone. You can man match it, and I think that's a good way to give it to your kids like that. And this will be the last one, then I'll open it up for questions. So again, here going man, we felt like man gave us an advantage. So I just spent a whole bunch of time talking to you guys about zone. But I do think that if you have the guys to do it, man can give you an advantage. Again, what we're doing is we're keeping everything underneath of us. We're not letting them get any kind of shot on us, and then we're making tackles right when they catch the ball. Because to me, here's the deal: this kid's a Division I quarterback. Okay, he's going to make that throw, especially into the boundary. But what we can do is eliminate the explosive, and I think to me that in of itself is eliminate the fatals. If we can eliminate fatals, then we're going to win the game. If we don't eliminate fatals, then we're going to lose the game. So what I'll do now, if there's any question or if I need to go back over something, this would be a great time to ask, and we'll get that taken care of.
Coaches, if you want to go ahead and if you got a question, go ahead and put it into the chat, and I'll get it to Coach, and we can go from there. Like I said, we've got about 7 to 10 minutes left. I've got this thing reserved at 9:30 if we need to go a little bit longer, but I want to be respectful to everybody on a Thursday night, even though I just got the great news that we're on late start tomorrow. So I'm happy about that. So anybody have any questions for Coach? All right, we got a question here. How do you defend bunch trips?
Yeah, but you can do it several different ways. We have a read key. Most of the time when I'm breaking down bunch, I figure out who the read key is. Is it 1, 2, or 3? Usually there's a guy that's going to tell you what the route combinations are going to be. Very rarely are you getting 3 verticals out of it. If you are, you're playing 7-on-7 in the summer. So to me, that's the key that we try and do. I've played box before, which is basically, you put the Sam linebacker outside in number 2, and he's going to beat up number 2 and slide out to the flat where you've got the inside backer, sink it down in that vertical hook right there. And then the corner and the safety are kind of just railing it on quarters. The other one that we can play is really reading, if 1 goes under 2, we're going to play box. So if 1 goes underneath, like let's say the smash, they're running just wide corner out of it. They've got a guy going inside, they got a guy coming out, and then they're just running the corner route off of it. To me, if they're doing that, we're playing box. all day long, and we can read that. So if one goes underneath two, then we're playing box. That corner is going to meet that corner on the other side. If you want to run the post corner, I got a free safety on the other side too. So what I tell them is it's like bowling alley, right? You're the bumpers at the bowling alley. You're not letting that thing get outside. You're not letting that thing get in the gutter. The other thing that you can do is if we're getting a lot of everything's going in with a guy going out. I don't want that corner to necessarily have to hammer down on a flat route. And really we don't. I tell my guys, look, I want negative throws. If they're going to throw something around the line of scrimmage, let them play that. We'll zone over it and we'll come down on it, because that's a harder throw for that quarterback to make. And if in that case, what we can do is we can play what I call bingo, and it allows that corner to sit on top of number one, safety sits on top of number two, and that Sam linebacker takes the flat route, and that Mike linebacker sits underneath of it. And it's really more of a man-ish concept right there. I'm not real big into playing man on bunch routes. I think that you can get picked off, especially at our level, at the high school level. It's just, you usually don't have three dudes that can play man. And they all can communicate with each other. I think I could have probably done it at Midlothian. This year we were very, very young at Horn. I had a bunch of sophomores. Again, we never started the same 11 every game. So it was like, okay, we can't get into some of these things that I was able to do at Midlothian with the man match stuff and being able to kind of signal and play zone, but we're really playing man. So to me, I think the best way to do it is to play some sort of a box concept or some sort of a read concept where you're reading. And normally it's that number one receiver. If number one goes inside and two goes vertical, we're playing box. If one and two stay on the same level, then we're playing bingo, and that corner is going to play what I call choke. He's going to choke down on number one, and that safety is going to take whatever vertical comes in on the other side. The other thing with the bunch stuff is that very rarely do you have them have a bunch unless they're running out of the bunch that they're trying to just isolate the guy on the other side. Normally, if they're running bunch, they're trying to pass to the bunch set. And so what you can do on the backside is really what I tell my backside safety is take a peek at number one. If he's running a fade route, turn your eyes back inside. That way you can get any kind of crosser that's coming across off of that bunch route, and you can kind of steal some stuff that way. But those are kind of the two main ways that we play that.
Okay. All right. So our next question is, what is the advantages of stress versus trips as opposed to lock man quarters?
Yeah, so stress really, what it does is it takes your regular quarters and it puts it across the entire trips. And what you're doing is you're forcing everything outside. So to me, if I'm getting a lot of vertical, sorry, if I'm getting a lot of vertical pushes out of that, then I'm playing stress. If I'm getting a lot of one, if they're trying to do things with one and two, then I'm playing stress. If they're trying to 2-3 switch all the time, they're pushing horizontal all the time, then we might as well just be in what I call stump, or what I special mini lock X, whatever you want to call it. Then that would be what I do. But to me, I think stress, because quarters, and I think anybody that you talk to that runs quarters, they're going to tell you run quarters until you can't. And so what that allows us to do is it takes that quarters pedagogy, and we can put it into trips, and that nickel just knows, look, now I just got to push two outside to my help. And again, as a defensive guy, I tell my kids all the time, the further that ball goes downfield and the wider that ball goes towards the sideline, the less efficient that pass is going to be. That's a harder throw for that quarterback, and that's what we want to do. I think that you play a bunch of outside leverage stuff. What are you going to get? You're going to get inside breaking routes. Inside breaking routes are higher percentage. So it goes back to the very beginning of what I talked about, the EPA stuff. I want negative points expected. I don't want positive points expected. I don't want more efficient throws. I want to take the space away, and I want to force everything to the sideline, because the sideline's never lost. He's the 12th man on the football field. He's never lost. So to me, that's why I prefer stress over anything else.
All right, our final question: four-man front versus 2x2 with pistol backfield. RPO isn't hurting you, but the give to the running back is. What's your answer?
My big thing is I'm not going to let them run to the field. So that three technique is going to sit to the field every time. Now, if it's, you always get the question, well, it's 2x2 pistol middle of the field. What are you going to do? Are they right-hand, left-handed dominant? If they're a pistol team, that's usually what you're going to figure out. But you're talking about a play that you're only going to see maybe once or twice a game. 75% of the plays, probably more than that, are played on hash. But to me, with pistol, and I think what you're going to see is more and more. Actually, I was talking to a friend of mine earlier this week about kind of the evolution of what we're going to see. I think you're going to see the pistol come back in a strong way, because so many defenses now are so predicated. Like I was talking about, like, is a nickel, if the back is to it, that linebacker's out of the fit. Okay, well, if the back's over here, now I know that guy's in the fit. How can I now manipulate that? So I think people are starting to catch up. I think pistol now really challenges the defense to be, okay, we got to think more field boundary based. We got to think more, really you're guessing a little bit more. But to me, what I'm always going to do is I'm always going to eliminate the field. I'm not going to give you the field. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to funnel it into the boundary, or I'm going to funnel it into the box. And so if it's middle of the field, then maybe we need to start talking about some line movement. What are the plays that they're running out of it? Are they zone scheme? Are they gap scheme? How can we manipulate that? And how we can get that and attack their base run out of that 2x2 10 personnel to muddy the waters.
All right, great. Coach Alexander, really appreciate you coming on tonight. This was awesome. Already gotten a lot of great feedback from coaches already online. Again, you can reach out to Coach Alexander on Twitter at @the_coach_A. Also, you can, if you want to follow, I'm also available on Twitter at Coach Bronk. I have if you're part of Facebook at all, I've got a Power Spread-RPO private group that I put together on there as well. I try to do a Zoom session, coaching session, once a month. Again, Coach Alexander, thank you so much for coming on and talking and kind of explaining some of the things that are going out there defensively on defending and stopping the RPO. So final words from you, Coach.
Yeah, I appreciate it. RPO is something that's been around for a while. I think it's an evolution of the game. It's blurring of the lines between play action and really what is an RPO in the different ways. Teams now aren't just throwing the bubble. I think it's something that even if I'm everybody around me is just still kind of running basic RPOs, I think there's still ways that, you can be a little bit more advanced in the way that you do it. Just always remember, don't give up the gift, try and eliminate the fatal, and then muddy the read for the quarterback. Cause I don't want to go defend the 40-year-old plus in the box. I want to defend the 15, 16, 17-year-old kid he's got to, make the correct read when the bullets are flying. And so to me, that's what I want to do, whether I've got the kid, that's going to an SEC school, or I got a kid that, doesn't have any offers. I want to make it challenging. When he leaves the game, it's like, man, I had to really work. So to me, I think that's kind of the approach that you got to take.
Awesome. Coach, once again, thank you. Coaches, thank all of y'all for being a part. I think we topped out tonight at 58 coaches online tonight. So that's awesome. Love you guys coming in and being a part of this. Again, next month we'll have another one. So you guys be on the lookout for that. Coach Alexander, thank you again. All of y'all have a great night and a safe weekend. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.